there's a lot to talk about and to figure out exactly what happened, why, what does it mean, where do we go from here. So I brought out some visual aids because it's a little complicated, just a little, so we can go over it. And hello and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Oh, there's other big news in the world. Prince Philip has died. He was 99 years old. He looked like he was 199 years old. There are a lot of I'm seeing a lot of people on my feeds who are happy that he's dead. I don't know exactly why. So if anybody has is tied into to that whole world, you can let me know. Okay, so I have visual aids because he's racist. Okay, that's all I need to know. For some reason, yeah, I just did not know that much about the dude other than he was some ancient what do they call him, a royal parasite. But that explains it. Thank you very much. Okay. So in the early 1980s, in Japan, we have a bunch of anime being produced, but the big one is Macross. That's the one we're talking about here. Now, of course, there are other big animes, but this is the big one that we're talking about. Now, Macross, super-dimensional. I mean, it has other longer names, but Macross is the important name. So Macross is made primarily by two different companies. And again, this is all the simplified version. There's more granularity to this, but this is the important stuff. So Macross is made by two different companies. Again, primarily. A company over here called Tatsunoko and Big West. So while this is going on, over in the United States, we have the creation of the company, for better or for worse, called Harmony Gold. Now, Harmony Gold is the brainchild of what I consider like a genuine visionary, Carl Macek. Carl Macek has been working in animation, he's been working in voiceover, and he sees what's going on in Japan. He sees these amazing anime series, and he wants to bring that to the United States. I thought this would be helpful. It's helpful for me to keep everything in mind. So he wants to bring anime to the United States in a big way, and he looks at properties that are in Japan that he can license to show in the United States. Obviously, with new dubbed language, if nothing else, because this was long before we were going to get a lot of subtitled things. So he looks at Macross and he says that's the one I want. Macross, it looks great. It's got really iconic characters, iconic mecha. It's going to be great. Well, there's a problem. The first problem is that it's too short. It's not enough episodes. Macross by itself is 35 episodes. I don't have all my details at hand, but essentially, Macross it doesn't have enough episodes because you can't get a cartoon on the air in the 80s unless it's a certain number of episodes that hits the threshold to be syndicated so that the markets can play it everywhere. So that's a problem. So he's like, crap. But I really want this. I really want this Macross one. So what does he do? He looks around at other animes that are not nearly as popular, and he finds two other animes. I'm not going to include them here, but Super Dimensional Cavalry, Southern Cross, and and then Mos Pita, which is which stands for a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, he finds these two other anime series, Southern Cross and speed. I didn't leave myself enough room, but like I said, these aren't nearly as important. And he figures, okay, wait, if I take these 3 anime series, and again, I've talked about this, and we're obviously gonna write all new dialogue because it's gonna be English, but we're gonna have dialogue that's gonna connect the 3 series and make them one overall large story. Characters are gonna be intertwined throughout. Boom, 80 something episodes with all 3 of these combined. Plus, they sort of make up another episode to link up a couple of series. We have our shows. They look great. These 2 maybe are not as strong as this one, but they still kind of exist in the same universe because they have transforming robots and humans fighting aliens, or at least that's how we can show it. And then boom, we're good. We're gold, right? Well, so this happens, and this becomes Robotech. So Robotech is these 3 series, redubbed, new story. Some things are very similar to the original shows in the storylines. Some things are changed kind of drastically, especially when you get into Southern Cross, like some of the aliens, who are they, where they come from, blah, 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 blah. All right. Now, where do we get the problem? Well, the problem is this down here. Because as it turns out, Harmony Gold made its licensing agreement for Macross with Tatsunoko. And it all seemed fine. It all seemed above board. But then what happened is that Big West was not happy about it. And this would be the sticking point for decades worth of insane anger, international lawsuits, international licensing deals gone wrong, properties being stuck in certain countries, the endless frustration of fans, and more and more and more and more. So what happens is, again, Harmony Gold gets the license for Macross, right? This is the big one. They start producing Robotech. Big West gets upset, steps in, says, "Okay, hold on. What exactly was the fine print here? Because we're going to try to screw this over as hard as we can." So they look at the fine print, and what does the fine print say? Well, they get Macross, and they get what they're getting for Macross is this mythical thing called the 41. There are 41 characters and designs that are part of whatever this thing is called Macross, right? Because already at the time, Macross was a series. It was also an OVA, which is, if you're not familiar with anime, it's essentially like it's a movie that goes with a series, but that's on TV. So it's like a TV movie that is related to a series. So there's an OVA for Macross already. There's already toys that are being produced in Japan that the Harmony Gold wants to bring over here and resell over here. So it's already chugging along, and it's already popular. Like El Camino. Yeah, exactly. So all this is happening, and Big West is like, okay, hold on. So you licensed Macross, and there's these 41 things in Macross. And again, they just talked about this in the announcement yesterday, and like we normal people probably never know exactly what those 41 things are, but anyway, that's part of the thing. And sorry, kick the camera. Not an earthquake, kick the camera stand. So Harmony Gold says, well, we licensed Macross, so any other Macross things that comes out, we get to distribute and show and do around the world. And Big West says, oh, no, you only got original Macross, these 41 things. You don't have access to anything else. And so begins and continued until yesterday this trouble. Because what would happen is, going forward, Harmony Gold is a box of lies. Again, there's plenty of hate to point at Harmony Gold. I'm certainly not an apologist for them, for the company as they've become over the years, especially. I am not enough of a legal scholar to dissect all of these original deals and figure out who was in the wrong. There are people who blame both sides of this. I'm just presenting the information. So in Japan, these companies, especially Big West, continues to crank out Macross sequels over the years. And there are a bunch. And they're really cool, and they've got cool designs. Now, they want to distribute these things outside of Japan. Harmony Gold says, well, no, we have the license to distribute Macross outside of Japan because we licensed the first one, and that then any subsequent ones we should be able to do. There's a fight there. They just kind of give up on it. Big West says, you'll never get anything Macross after the original. Harmony Gold says, well, then you'll never distribute them outside of Japan. Legally, officially. And that's where we've been. So there are, like I said, there are multiple series, movies, not to mention all of the collectibles and toys over the years that are not officially allowed to be shown or sold in the United States, in other places. Yeah. Now, meanwhile, and to a much lesser extent, but this is true, Robotech also has not been able to be shown, distributed, sold in Japan because of all this. Because they're like, well, screw you, you're not bringing Robotech back here. And again, that's a much lesser piece of the puzzle, but it is a piece. There are people in Japan who want access to Robotech. It's different enough, and it's sort of, at this point, it's sort of a curiosity. So again, like I showed these two at the beginning, and some of these are subtle differences, but if you look at their backpacks, this one over here has the two just boosters. This one has one booster and one big particle beam cannon. And that alone, even if you couldn't see anything else about these things, just from the back, you would know that this is from original Macross / Robotech, and this is from the movie Do You Remember Love, which is a Macross movie. Now, this movie was sort of distributed in the United States on cassette tape, on VHS tape, as Clash of the Bionoids, excuse me. Awful. It was not even connected with Robotech. It was like a separate deal, and it was terrible. But even that movie has never officially been in the United States. And then, of course, like I said, decades and decades of things from Macross Zero, which was a prequel story to Macross, to all of the Macrosses that have come after. Macross 7, Macross Frontier, you name it, there's been a million of them. And yeah, and so now, obviously, in this day and age, you can get things online illegally. You can import things from companies that sell overseas. So there are ways of getting the animations. There are ways of getting the toys from all these different series, but it's never been easy. It's never been cheap. You can buy these toys, but you have to get them from an importer. They're not sold in stores here or anything like that. So what did we learn yesterday? Yesterday, while like I said, I was offline for one afternoon, one early evening, and the world changes. So they announce essentially that Harmony Gold and Big West are now friends. Now, the press release is very interesting for what it says, as well as what it does not say. And to be honest, I expected us to have more information already. So the big things it says, well, again, I mean, the biggest thing is just that these two companies are actually talking to each other. Because that hasn't really happened, except for the times when Harmony Gold's licenses are, like, their copyrights and all that trademark garbage, like, comes up for renewal, but they've still gotten it over the years. Okay, so what's the new deal? First of all, everybody's friends. Somehow, they're all friends. There will be distribution of all Macross outside of Japan. Now, what that means exactly, we don't know. Robotech will come to Japan, so Japanese people will be able to watch Robotech. And again, like I said, that's a lesser part of all of this deal, but it's still there. And they made mention in the press release that this partnership will be beneficial for the long discussed live action movie. Now, so what's really going on here? And this is the question that a lot of people have brought up. Zardoz asked it this morning. So what's really going on here? Where's the money? Because it's all about money, right? Erdinsk, it's all about money. Where's the money? Who's benefiting from this? Or rather, who's benefiting the most? And the answer is, I don't know. Because we have so few details yet. Now, again, with this announcement, I truly expected, if this announcement came out yesterday, that today there would already be a secondary announcement of a bunch of Macross sequels coming to Funimation streaming service, or, you know, Funimation is going to distribute for Harmony Gold, and they would, you know, like, announce pre-orders today. I thought this would be like, boom, we're off to the races. Like, they have all of this stuff ready to start selling, and we're going to start buying. But not yet, at least. But I got to imagine it soon. Like, why would they make all these announcements and then not immediately give us things to spend our money on? So I have to assume that's coming soon. Now, clearly this is great for Big West, because they get to actually sell all of this content to other countries that they've, for decades, not been able to access. Harmony Gold, in theory, gets some piece of all of that as licensors, distributors, however it's going to work. It would be amazing if this ended up making it so that we could buy a bunch of Macross collectibles. Like, I don't know. Again, it didn't talk about collectibles in this press release specifically, but are we going to see some sort of new distribution deal where Harmony Gold gets to, you know, import stuff and then sell it through stores? Is it? Hey, so Ozai, talking about all the news and all the. Now we're into a bit more of the speculation. You know, are we going to start to see, you know, Macross toys in previews and show up at, you know, your local comic book store? Possibly. This could be a major blow to Toynami. Toynami has been the main manufacturer of Robotech, and to a lesser extent Macross collectibles as well, here in the United States. They're not the best company. A lot of issues with their stuff, and one of the reasons why they've been able to continue on so well with those licenses is because they're sort of the only game in town. But now now again, in theory, that we'll have access to all of these amazing Macross products from Japan, you know, will Toynami hang it up? is part of this deal that Toynami gets to distribute the toys from Japan. Like, there are so many questions that again, even beyond like the obvious ones, like the nitty-gritty questions that I really want to know, because Toynami does distribute for other companies as well, so that could be baked into this deal too. Who knows? Rabbit Wombat, yeah, there's probably, but I mean, I think the big stuff, the big picture stuff, obviously has to be done already. So now where this also gets really interesting is because again, everything I just said, it'll happen in some way, right? We're gonna get the the everything up until now. We're gonna get all of every Macross series, every Macross OVA. It's gonna be coming here one way or another. We're gonna get new versions of Robotech because now Harmony Gold has access to basically a whole new vault worth of original footage from Macross that now they can do remasters. We can get stuff on Blu-ray, and people have been talking about. But then what's a little bit more amorphous and hard to figure out, but interesting to look for in the future, is what does this mean for the future of Macross and the future of Robotech? Whatever the next Macross series is it going to, is it going to have a simultaneous US release as it releases in Japan? What is it going to connect to? This could affect storylines now that Macross stuff is being produced with an eye toward American markets, especially the American market that is now so familiar with anime. And then there's this thing over here. So the Robotech Live Action Movie. That's a thing. Oh, and also I should mention that I really hope. Now, if Toynami ends up being a victim of this, I'm not going to be super upset. It's been a while since Toynami had really good product that they've come out with. So if Toynami loses the license, if we just get Macross stuff, honestly, I'll be okay with that. What I really hope, though, is I hope this doesn't hurt Kids Logic and what they're doing with the Minitech miniatures, because I think those are fantastic. I'd love to see them get the full Macross line and license, and so we get every single Valkyrie that's ever been on screen in the Minitech line. That would be great. I would love to see them, really succeed. Who knows? With this kind of deal, we could see other companies jumping in and getting these sort of overall licenses to do the stuff. But like I said, I hope that succeeds. Now, the Robotech live action movie. Yes, as Zardoz says, the Robotech pipe dream. Now, this is something that Harmony Gold has talked about for a very, very long time. We are talking, I can't remember, I didn't look it up, but I can't remember offhand the first time they talked about it, but it was right, it was like all your life basically. I mean, I'm guessing, is it 15 years? 10 years? At least 10 years. After the success of the first few Michael Bay Transformers movies, Harmony Gold had the idea. Okay, we're gonna sell longer than that. Okay, yeah, like I said, I can't remember exactly. Harmony Gold said we want there to be a live action movie of Robotech. Let's do it. We're gonna package it up. We're gonna see who wants it. We're gonna see who wants to option it. Throw it out there. And it does get optioned. So various companies come in and say, oh yeah, we want to do that. So companies will pay to hold on to the option to make the movie. Now, does this mean they are going to make the movie? No, not necessarily. They're just holding on and thinking about it. Paying Harmony Gold in the process, so Harmony Gold makes money whether it happens or not. And those deals will last a certain amount of time, and then they'll expire, or they can be passed on to somebody else, and blah, 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 blah. There is a long list of companies and people in Hollywood that have been attached to this project. Everything from Sony to rumors of Tom Cruise to Tobey Maguire to Legendary to you name it. And who knows how much involvement any of these people actually had. We will literally never know. But this has been hanging over Harmony Gold for, like I said, for decades, for all this time. Because, and this is something that a lot of people don't understand, sometimes you hate it when corporations make peace. You know, it's funny. Before this started, I was talking to my wife. I was trying to think of another example of like this. All of this sounds kind of silly. You know, like these are little companies fighting over some cartoons, which it's fine. That's certainly a way to look at this. But I was trying to think of another example of two relatively international companies that just absolutely hate one another and despise each other and have gone on record as saying we will never work with the other one again, and then miraculously there's peace made and there are deals made. And I couldn't think of anything. I couldn't think of another example of that. So anyway, what a lot of people didn't understand and get mad at again, there's lots of reasons to be mad at Harmony Gold. Okay? For this original situation, you could argue that Harmony Gold did some shady stuff. Like I said, I don't know enough about what happened for me to say that, but there are people who argue that. Harmony Gold has definitely over the years been extremely litigious, fighting tooth and nail anytime they think they can protect their copyrights, their trademarks, whatever the case may be. And yes, as I think Eridansk brought up, that does have to do with things like BattleTech, so designs that were used in other places. Applies to fights with Transformers and Hasbro over the years, various and sundry other things. Oh, okay. So anyway, so back to the movie. So now, when a small company has an option for a movie, for a big Hollywood movie, and a big Hollywood studio picks up that option, what happens is there's a clause that says, because we've paid a lot of money and are, in theory, sinking a lot of money into making this live action movie, you, as a smaller company, have to stop producing new content unless we think it's okay, because we don't want you confusing a potential audience about something that we are going to be making for a ton of money. And this is a real thing that happens a lot, that I think a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of. Now, people jump in and talk about, well, I don't understand. Transformers had cartoons going on all the same time that the movies were happening, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's true, but that's a hugely different situation. Mainly because all of it was owned by the same company. Hasbro and its larger production company, right? And yeah, Hasbro's not a small company either, right? So that was a very different situation. But in this case, so the live action movie deal was made, or the first option was sold off shortly after the release of a Robotech movie called Shadow Chronicles that Harmony Gold put out. Shadow Chronicles was a landmark moment for Robotech fans because it was the first fully original animation of Robotech, a sequel that was done since 1985. There have been a couple of other small release things that happened, but they were like repackaging older content. It's not really new things. But Shadow Chronicles was an honest to god new Robotech movie. Now, is it good? That's debatable. It's fun. It's fun. They cheaped out on some of the animation work. Some of it looks really good. Some of it not so much. The story is okay. So right before this deal, Harmony Gold announced that there was going to be a follow-up to Shadow Chronicles, Shadows Rising. This deal comes out, kills Shadows Rising. To this day, we don't know how much content was made for that. I remember seeing a very brief teaser trailer, like a few seconds long, but of actual new animation for Shadows Rising at like San Diego Comic-Con a million years ago. I don't remember the details. I could be imagining things, but I seem to remember that they were working on it. There was possibly some new shots they had made. I think they said that there was already work on the new music for it, but that was destroyed. It's gone. It'll probably never see the light of day, which is sad. Somehow in this world, Harmony Gold was able to attempt a Kickstarter to do another animation project. That Kickstarter failed, very famously. They were asking for a lot of money, and it just wasn't there. Robotech Academy, I believe it was called. So yeah, the most recent thing we've heard from the live action movie. Oh, and like what was it? James Wan was at one point connected to it. The latest was Andy Muschietti, who did the It movies. Miniature Model Maker, hello, welcome. We are talking about the Robotech Macross news from yesterday, because that sort of is trumping everything these days. Yeah, and so it's a crazy world. But the really interesting thing is in this announcement yesterday that Harmony Gold and Big West are now good friends, they mention the live action movie. That part of this deal. Oh, Miniature Model Maker. Oh, thank you. I miss Darrow. I love Darrow. So I found it very interesting that this press release mentioned the live action movie and how this deal would make it smoother for the live action movie to be shown in Japan. Because again, before any kind of deal like this, a live action movie would be Robotech, which means it would not be able to be shown in Japan. In theory. Now, if you're a conspiracy theorist, or you're trying to pick apart these threads, this is kind of a big deal. Now, many of us assume that this is vaporware, that this is never actually going to happen. That at one point there was some serious thoughts about this, that they were seriously looking at making it happen, but that it's just that it's gone. We've seen so many other movies that have sort of come out in the world of the Transformers style CG that have not done nearly as well. And is there still demand for it? We've seen other attempts at resurrecting 80s and lesser extent 90s properties in movies that have done okay but not great. Seemingly there's been no movement on this thing for a really long time. So is it gone? Is it dead in the water? Is the option gonna just give up at some point? But again, they mentioned it as part of this thing yesterday. So one way to look at this is to question whether this is actually the driver for the entire deal. That there is actually some movement going on for the live action movie, that it's going to happen, it's going to be a substantial thing, and all of these companies are looking at how can we make peace so we can all make a bunch of money when this comes out all around the world. Now, I don't necessarily believe that, but I'm saying that is one way that you could look at this whole thing. Big West is a successful company. They make a bunch of stuff. They don't need to put out a bunch of bullshit when it comes to talking about stuff like this. Yeah, Rabid Wombat, yeah, exactly. And maybe that's out there. Is it a coincidence that this is happening a couple weeks after Godzilla vs. Kong comes out? Like, I don't know. I don't want to be too much of a like I said, I don't want to be too much of a conspiracy theorist and try to like pick at random things, but it's interesting to consider. So in the short term, like I said, I was expecting it today, but I'm expecting very, very soon we're going to get an announcement of all the Macross series that Big West has been doing over the years will come to streaming services first, and then at some point we'll actually get Blu-ray releases here in the United States for anybody who still does physical media. And then who knows? The sky is the limit on this. New projects. Yeah, exactly, Ozai. Yeah, there's a US Twitter. Oh, there's a YouTube account that I think it only has 2 little things on it, but it was geo-locked, so you couldn't get onto it in the US. That reopened. It's an interesting world, and it just got a lot more interesting with this. I'm really excited about the potential for collectibles, so we'll see. We shall see. Trust me when I say that I will be keeping track of any announcements, and I will share it with everyone. But that's pretty much all we know at this point. And again, the press release was very vague, and it basically just said. It basically just said. Press release basically just said we're friends now, with not a lot of details beyond that, which is good. Look, we like it when companies become friends. Oh, he's so excited. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Well, don't tell him that is his whiteboard that I took to use. If anybody has any further questions or other things to talk about with that, we certainly can. But I will move on to a different topic. I'm also, and look, for as many times as I've watched Robotech over the years, if we're gonna get a newer, even prettier version, with footage that we can get from Japan and remaster it again and get it on Blu-ray, I'll buy it. I'm there. Hudsonizer, I absolutely think so. Some might tell you at this point now, just wait and you'll be able to watch, the original Macross in some new version. But I do think Robotech is still, I think it still holds up. There's some silly things to it. Some of the Min-May stuff especially is decried by some viewers, but I think it's really good. Nowadays, with so much more, I don't want to say adult, but mature animation, I don't think Robotech is necessarily as impactful, but at the time, I mean, when you consider that it came out here in 1985 and it has main characters dying and love triangles, enemies overcoming, racial prejudices and joining the good guy. I mean, it's there are themes and story elements and characters that had never before been seen in animation in the United States. Ooh, okay, Hudsonizer, that's an interesting question. I think most anime fans would say Cowboy Bebop. I would not. I am not a huge fan of Cowboy Bebop. Watch, everybody unsubscribes, unfollows, and leaves. It just doesn't connect with me. What are you gonna do? Yeah, and the animation in Macross, which again became Robotech, is just it's phenomenal. Just really cool visuals. So yeah, interesting Black Cavalier. Well, hey, maybe check it out if it seems interesting. Okay, so the knight. It's coming along. We've got pretty much the entire inner skeleton built for the legs and the body. Yeah, there's definitely an overarching story for Cowboy Bebop. Yes. So, like I said, the goal of this project is that this is going to be a converted knight. Well, especially because the box is just a loyalist knight, and I'm going to make it a chaos knight. But even more so, that I really want to specifically make this some kind of a Sonic knight. I want to add stuff so that specifically it'll play with my Emperor's Children. So what I did, and like I've talked about this before, is my son Benjamin. He loves to take apart electronics. So he's got a wide range of things that he has destroyed and broken into pieces. Lots of circuit boards, alarm clocks, stereos, all sorts of things. Our garage is a mess. But we were digging through, and I was looking for parts that maybe I could use in this. Now, I got a little bit ahead of myself in thinking about how big everything is. So let's cut out the top piece and the shoulder pads so we can get a sense of what the size is going to be. But I think some of the parts that I brought in that I thought might be cool are just way too big. So this is going to be the other way. That's basically going to go on top like that. So that's going to be the top of the knight. Yeah, Robotech is much more of a cohesive story across the episodes. There are some people I saw responding to the news yesterday who are still, and again, like I'm not saying that you need to be totally happy with Harmony Gold. I'm not saying that. I don't want it to come across like I'm like I said, like I'm a Harmony Gold apologist. They've done some shitty things over the years. But there are some people who are like, this is terrible news because it shows that you can be assholes like Harmony Gold and still get away with it. Don't don't buy any of this stuff because Harmony Gold's gonna get a piece of it, blah blah blah. And it's like, all right, I I get it a little bit, but are you really not going to enjoy new content or content that's finally in your area just because you don't like this one company? I mean, come on, that's silly. Okay, so we have this is generally what the night is going to look like. Yeah. Oh, and then and then there's the people who on Twitter like they're so mad. They're so angry at Harmony Gold that they won't actually write out Harmony Gold because then like it'll get hits in the algorithm. So they write it out as Garmony Hold. I'm like, really? Like that's come on. Come on people. Silly. Okay. So this gives us a sense of the general size. So I was looking through breaking things off circuit boards. Now, I am not a super electrical genius guy. So I have pieces here that I broke off of things. I have no idea what this stuff is. If you know, by all means, tell us. So pieces like this off of circuit boards, I think are interesting looking pieces. And they vary in size and general shape. But something like this could be interesting to attach somewhere. Essentially, they could be like, I mean, whatever you want to imagine that these things are, but just something that's interesting to add. They could be some sort of speakers, amplifiers, especially if you stack them. So that could be cool. So I have a whole bunch of these in different sizes. Now, one thing that people do for making things like speakers is they get anything that's like this, and then they'll put mesh over the front of it to be like the front of a speaker. Now, when you do mesh in small scale, it can be a little bit tough because how do you get it to be small enough that it looks right to the scale? Now, thankfully, well, anyway, so there are options essentially. There you can get there is actually mesh sheets that you can get that are for hobbying. You just cut it out, you glue it on, you trim off the outside, paint it silver or you know some kind of metal, and then you do like a black wash over it. It'll look like the front of a speaker. So there are options like that. You can get material that you use for like screen doors. That's another kind of thing you can do. Essentially, you just have to watch out for what kind of fraying you're going to get when you cut it. So obviously, if you have something metal, you're going to get less fraying than if you have something that's made out of a fabric-y kind of thing. So for anything like this, I could put again something like that over the top of it, paint it, and it would potentially look more like a speaker. Now, I have actual pieces from speaker assemblies. So potentially, like on a shoulder pad. So, an actual speaker. So if I cut off, can I pull this off? There we go. And there's a plastic thing in here. So I could leave that in. And again, once even a piece like this, if I just primed it, that could be cool. It does have a metal piece in the back that is, I think it's a magnet. So if I did, because that's the other thing, it's like, how do you mount this stuff? Well, there are different ways of mounting things that, obviously if I just wanted to lay flat on there, I could put a magnet on the underside and then magnetize it directly on there. You could build up a little support with sprue pieces and have it locked into a place So there are different things you could do. Honestly, I could use some of these and build something, build a little framework for it. So that's definitely a cool looking piece that could be good. Oh yeah, it is magnetic. So I can just do it. I can just do it with magnets. Magnets. How do they work? These pieces off of circuit boards are pretty cool. Because these could easily be some sort of sound blasting thing. So I could put those around somewhere, build a little pile of them, and I have these in various sizes. Again, if I'm showing something and you know what it is exactly from a circuit board, and you're like, "Oh, don't use that because that corrodes or it could be leaking acid or something," let me know. Because, like I said, I don't know anything about circuit boards, other than that you need a circuit for electricity to go. I don't know what I'm doing. I just pulled pieces off of random electronic stuff. So yeah, a lot of these little things, I grabbed all the ones that I could find. Some of them are more, like that one's cool because it's more of a flat square, so that definitely could look like some kind of a speaker. Ooh, this one too. Like that actually straight up does look like a speaker. Again, if I get a little mesh to put over that, that could be good. A lot more of those same ones. I haven't cleaned any of this stuff, so a lot of it is like little bits and pieces are falling off everywhere. A big one of these things, whatever this is. And then, and then check this one out. Look at this. How cool is that? So potentially put that somewhere, just as like a power generator, arcing energy something. Who knows? Whatever. And again, it just has to look cool. So I found all these little bits and pieces, thinking, okay, I could stick those on here or there. You know, maybe on the leg armor. Yes, Rabbit Wombat. These are all 100% doodads. So on the leg armor, like there could be some of these, you know, these little speaker things, whatever. Bigger stuff for the shoulders, possibly the top. And then I saw, oh, we actually have some components with an actual speaker from, like I said, I think one of these came from an alarm clock and something like that's right. Look, with all this stuff, I should be able to build my own Iron Man suit. So it's like, oh well, what if I got two of these, and like had actual like big speaker things on the shoulders, not realizing, well, they might be a little big for this. The scale is, maybe these are better for some kind of Titan. Although I mean, I guess it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. Now, obviously, these need a lot of cleanup. Because they've got, this is just paper, so I got to clean all that out. And this is like, there's really heavy glue here in the middle, so I got to scrape all that out. Actually clean these things because they're pretty filthy, and then figure out what I'm going to do to them. Now these would be pretty easy to put like mesh over, just glue mesh down, cut off the edges, paint it, and probably be pretty good to go. And these actually have a really strong magnet in the back of them. So again, what I could do is potentially build a simple frame out of sprues and glue magnets, a bunch of magnets inside, and then these will just pop on, and then I can take them on and off. So potential options. Yeah, our communications dish. Yeah, and I think we actually have some more of these. But yeah, these are pretty strong magnets in these. Which actually I'll have to be kind of careful depending on how much magnetizing I do that these don't affect other magnets in the whole thing. But I mean that would be cool though, right? These on the shoulders. We'll see. Number one thing is to get the rest of the basic body built. Start working on the weapon options. Although again, I'm going to also get some 3D printed parts to use as Sonic blaster arms. There are no rules for those, but again, it's just for fun, just for looks. Again, I'll at least as the rules are currently, I'll probably rerunning this as a Knight to spoiler with twin Avenger Gatling cannons. But if my Avenger Gatling cannons take the form of Sonic blasters, then that's just what they look like. But yeah, like I said, so once I have all of the inner workings of the Knight done, start cranking out those pieces, figure out how the magnetizing is going to work for all of the weapons and the arms, because I know you can do that. I just obviously haven't gotten to it yet. And then I will get all of the armor pieces cut out, cleaned up, and then start looking at where and how we can decorate and make it unique. But I'm excited. It was certainly fun digging around this stuff with my son. He was very excited to grab. He was just yanking stuff out and be like, "How about this? Is this good? Could you use this?" I was like, "Oh, then maybe not that. That's a whole piece of a circuit board, but sure." So yeah, we definitely had a good time looking for bits and pieces. And this is what converting work is all about. Just get a bunch of random stuff and see what you can do with it. Make sure if it has, like, one thing you have to look at is if it has a letter or numbers or code that's actually, in 3D somehow. Like if it's embossed or what's the opposite of embossed, but if you can actually feel it, then even if you primer that, obviously you're still going to see that. So thankfully this was on the back wherever I would mount it, but you definitely need to keep an eye out for things like that, because you don't want to build something and then not realize it, and then at the end be like, oh crap, I can read "Made in China" on a piece that I've added to my model. Hudsonizer, you are powering your way through Deep Space Nine. That's awesome. Such a good show. I should do a rewatch of that. I mean, I guess these wouldn't be too big. It's definitely big. And again, we've talked about this too, that when you do sort of major conversions, there are potential pitfalls. Let's see if I can just show generally what this would look like. So we've got the Knight, we've got the shoulders, and then it would be like that. So I don't think I think it's right at the limit of how big an addition I could add to this. It's definitely not modeling for advantage, because it would make it a lot bigger. So again, with the magnets though, I could just pop it off if I was playing in any sort of a more serious game where I have to worry about what an enemy could see. Again, playing with friends, it wouldn't matter. But yeah. Right. Yeah, Ernest, I mean, hey, I guess that's that's something you might be okay with that, or want it to say "Made in China" if that's part of your deal. And like I said, I'll go through and clean up, because these pieces are pretty gnarly. A lot of bits sticking out, little just like dirt coming off of them. To say that my son's workshop in the garage is a little chaotic, a little messy, that would be an understatement. Lord Tanak, that is an excellent question, and I will need to consider that as I add, because yes, these are very heavy. So especially depending on how the now this is the first knight I've ever built, so I don't know exactly how the shoulder assemblies work, but yes, I will definitely consider that before I add on any massive amount of weight. I should also actually consider it with what I do for the waist, because I can probably add some sort of some more material in here to really uh, steady this part, which I think would be helpful. And then also too, when I glue it to the base, I can add more material to make it stick on more. Yeah, Black Cavalier. So that is definitely a theme that people have run with for Warhammer. Usually, for whatever reason, usually it's with orcs. There's some very famous, internet famous orc conversions that have done the Mad Max vehicles, including like a full what is it, the Doof wagon, I think its name is, like a full size one with orcs on the drums. And yeah, oh my god, it's so cool what those people are able to do. Yeah, exactly, Lord Tanak. Yeah, weights on the base for sure. But yeah, so I'm dabbling. I've I've been sourcing parts here that I think could be good, could be fun for this. I think we do actually have mesh that could work for covering things, the front of things to look like speakers essentially. And yeah, we will continue working on it on Wednesday. Red red ones are louder. Tomorrow, tomorrow is Saturday. Very exciting things happen on Saturday. For one, the Warhammer War Room stream happens. 2 p.m. Pacific, right here on this channel. And as always, we're going to look at recent news and announcements, talk about stuff. I have a very special guest that will be joining me tomorrow, and that is none other than our good friend, Rabid Wombat. Talk about his hobby projects, what he's working on, what he's going to be working on. We're going to do a deep dive into the Adeptus Custodes, the Custodians, the Golden Boys. So that'll be cool, because I haven't really done that. I've talked about a lot of factions, but haven't gone deep into those. So that'll be really cool. They've got some really neat stuff. I will admit that I have on occasion thought about starting an army of them, but I have friends who play it, so that's fine. It's all fine. But yeah, so that'll be super fun. So that's 2 to 4 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow. And then tomorrow night, Home Buddies group stream back here on the same channel. We're going to go ancient again. We're going to do another Greek tragedy. We're doing Agamemnon. Aeschylus's Agamemnon. Now, am I promising this is going to be the first part, and we're going to do the full Oresteia over the next few months? I don't know. We'll see. But it will be Agamemnon. You're going to see Agamemnon. You're going to see Clytemnestra. You're going to see a little bit of Aegisthus. Cassandra. Ooh, Black Cavalier. That's interesting. What's the Home Buddies origin story? Huh. We'll have to put that together. I mean, obviously we're all friends, and we all streamed together at Hyper RPG in the old days. We were all on the blood curdling show. Cameron was the GM for the entire thing. Janelle, Jessica, and I were cast the whole time, and Andy and Emma were both guest stars. So we've but we've all worked with each other on lots of previous things. What is that version of the emote? Oh, bunny ears. Nice. So yeah, so we'd worked together before, and obviously when the pandemic started, everybody with everybody with any following online who had done streaming before in any way was like, well, how do I do streaming at home? And so I was actually late to the game. The other five had the original idea for the Home Buddies, and then right as they were announcing it, I was like, can I get in on this? Would that be cool? And they were gracious enough to accept me. And then yeah, it just became the idea that we're all at home, we're all interested in streaming, we all have very different content, very different styles of content. Maybe if we do it together, we can help each other. Obviously, very explicitly help each other with technology and get everything up and running, and then be able to introduce people to our different forms of content and then share those people and say, hey, maybe you'd like this too. The original idea was that we'd have more of us streaming on more days, but as people have become busier with other things going on, some of that happens. SpazTech, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. So now we don't have quite as much of that as we thought we were going to, and we did for a little while. For a little while on weekdays, I would stream on Pacific time. I would be on in the morning. Cameron would be on in the afternoon. Jessica or Emma, later after that, and then Andy or Janelle at night. It hasn't quite worked out to continue that as much, but and then obviously every Saturday night we get together, do a group stream and have it pass around the different buddies, so we focus on different things. And yeah, it's been super great for me. I've loved it. Yes, SpazTech. So this is it's the standard the preceptor kit that I'm going to be converting into an ally for my Emperor's Children. So I'm looking at all sorts of fun things to glue on to be sonic weapons and technology and bits and pieces. So I've got actual speakers and little electronic doodads and things. Yeah. So started recently, so I've got just the bare bones, the inside of the knight built, and starting to look at other things. Going to do magnetizing, the works, the full deal, as it were. Yeah, so for anybody who's interested, like I said, tomorrow we will have the Warhammer show at 2 p.m. And then tomorrow night, Agamemnon. I've divided up the lines pretty well. I had to do... Essentially, we're dividing up the chorus. So in different scenes, different home buddies will be playing the chorus. But that should work out fine. Agamemnon is an interesting play. I'll talk a little bit about it before we start tomorrow night. But yeah, it's mostly just the chorus talking about stuff, and then the other characters pop in and out, and then have reactions to things. Savage Punch, I thought we agreed that we were never going to talk about that movie again. Didn't we all agree? Wasn't that a thing? A legally binding agreement? There is some pretty brutal action in the play, but it doesn't happen on screen. That was a big thing about Greek tragedy. You could talk about horrific things happening, but they didn't happen on stage. Just like we saw with Oedipus a couple months ago, right? Oedipus stabs out his eyeballs, but you don't actually see it happen. He just sort of wanders back out on stage with that already done. So we'll see that again here. Unfortunately, we can't perform the whole thing, but I won't give too many spoilers, but there's a horrific event that happens toward the end of the play, and you hear it happening off screen, and then essentially it's just the chorus on stage, and they're reacting to what they're hearing. And then originally, like the stage would open, and then they'd push out like the scene, and then you'd see this tableau of what happened, and it would be shocking. Uh, so I have seen some, again, incredible hobbyists actually use Bluetooth speakers in their models, so it actually is fully functional and does play sounds and music, and then LEDs for some of it, and it's amazing. One day I would love to work on something like that. I do not have the skills to do such a thing right now. So, one day. Oh, that's what I wanted. I had one other idea that I wanted to look at as far as maybe something I could incorporate here. I kind of want it to be a surprise though. I just have to remember. I have to remember to look for it. I'm trying to find a very specific kind of piece. I could probably get it 3D printed if I can't find an actual one, but something that's. I want to try to include something that is musical, but is a very specific kind of reference. You'll see. I'm just gonna tease that. Bagpipes? That would be cool. I don't see a lot of bagpipes on miniatures. You can, of course, get miniatures with bagpipes, but like sculpting and adding bagpipes would definitely be interesting. Okay, so yeah, so I think that's all of the announcements I have. Let's see if there's anybody to raid. I do have a full day's worth of family stuff going on today. But let's see, who do we want to raid? Who is online? Ooh, a bunch of the people that we've made friends with recently. Let's see, Frog Lane Studio is playing something. What are they playing? Oh, it just changed. Let's Make It Orky is back. Warhammer and Chill. Man. Dream Team. Let's do that. I love those silly modified emotes. It's so great. Oh, with those new options, I can't wait to troll Andy with those. I've got lots of channel points on his. Let's make it. Okay, I'm setting up a raid. Nope. I should probably spell it right. Okay. Setting up a raid. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with me this morning. This morning, my time. Did a little bit of a deep dive into attempting to figure out what's going on with the Macross Robotech situation. Hopefully that was interesting to some of you. Definitely, as we hear more, we'll talk about it. And again, I expect there to be actual news any minute now. I don't know why they would make that first announcement and not have it followed up with, and here's what you can buy. But who knows? Yeah, and then talking a little bit about these pieces that I'll be attempting to stick onto my knight. Have a great rest of your Friday. Have an awesome weekend if you have things going on. Otherwise, tomorrow, 2 p.m. Pacific, Warhammer War Room stream, 7 o'clock Pacific. All of this is on my channel right here. Performing Agamemnon with the Home Buddies. I'm invalid username. Okay. What did I do wrong? Oh, I see what I did wrong. Let's try that one more time. Okay, there we go. We're doing it. We're going to raid Let's Make It Orky. And some fun hobby stuff going on over there, it looks like. Yeah. Cool. Otherwise, have a great weekend, everybody. I'll be back on Monday with more Virgil's Aeneid. Always love the Mythology Monday. So, yeah. All right. Signing off. Have a great one, everybody. Bye-bye.